This is just the most adorable little small town.
I think it's one of the best places to raise a family.
Well, what's nice about Cape May is that you could describe almost all of the businesses as mom and pops.
You want to go there and experience Cape May.
You have a problem, people rally, you feel the love, and you know how important we all are to each other.
Welcome to Cape May Trading Post at Dellas, a coastal community store.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Absolutely.
Little sip here.
Yes, indeed.
So, I always ask this question to start. Someone's not from Cape May. Explain where we're sitting right now.
How far back do you want me to go? 77 years?
You go back to wherever you want to go back to.
How about 62?
Okay.
It was March 6th, and that was the big northeaster on the East Coast, and the wild was in Cape May, inundated. And as a result of that, the National Flood Program started, okay? I only bring that to your attention because I'm an insurance broker, and it was huge. FEMA was just being formed after that. Ended up going to Wild Catholic, graduated in 1966. Nice. How do I look, though? Huh?
You look great. Right?
Yeah, right.
Sharp as a tack, baby.
You're lying to me
Sharp
again.
as a bowling ball.
Buff it up, Bubba.
Buff it up.
And then from there, I went to Canisius College for about a semester and a half. And then I was down in the University of Miami, and I wanted to be an oceanographer. That's when there was a show on. I forget the name of the show, but it was an underwater guy, and I wanted to do that. Well, then the lottery came. Okay, the lottery for the Vietnam War. Okay, so I'm like a junior now at University of Miami, right? And so the cutoff was 180, and my number was 179.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I'm like 22 years old, and I'm going into the service. So, I go down, they shaved hair. I did have some hair in those days, I tell you, I swear to God.
That was the start of the
that was the start of it, yeah. And so I'm there, and when I was at Canisius College, I took ROTC, and so they must have picked up on that, because they get a tap on the shoulder. He says, "Come here, son," and I'm figuring I haven't been here long enough to create havoc. So, yeah, what's up here?
Yeah.
And so they were very nice. They wanted me to talk about RA, that's regular Army, which is another year. And I said, well, what does it entail? I mean, what am I going to get for another year in the Armed Forces? And he says, well, we have at exit 105, that's why I knew where Monmouth was.
Yeah.
Okay, they had the school for crypto and photography. Okay, and so they enrolled me into the crypto because it was 52 weeks, the course. And I figured, that sounds like 105 miles away from Cape May for 52 weeks. I'm in.
Sounds good.
And I did that. And the fact of the matter was, I couldn't handle it. It was all like ohms and ahms and all this. And, I'm sort of a social guy, and I can't be talking to a transistor. You know what I mean? And so they put me in 84G20. That was my MOS. And I eventually ended up teaching down there because that was what I liked, because I was the photographer in high school. Okay? And so then I get orders for Vietnam. Now, I just tried to avoid Vietnam. And I go to Fort Monmouth, and I get orders again for Vietnam. Well, there was an E5 in my unit, and he was a photographer. And in those days, if you're taking pictures of the war, the Vietnam War, you can get a Look magazine, Time magazine, you can make your career. And he looked at me, and he says, because I went to him, I said, I have something you might like, something you won't. If you don't want to talk to me, if you don't want it, I'm not trying to be whatever, but, and I told him what I had, and he says, really? And I went, yep, I got Vietnam, and you have what? He says, Germany. I went, okay, baby, let's go. We're doing good so far. And so that transpired. And the way that transpired, we lived on the economy and we lived on a little apartment up top, a rooftop apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a captain underneath, and I became very good friends with him. And then there was Major Thomas, and those were my two drinking buddies off campus. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so when I told him I got the orders for Vietnam, he was the one who gave me a phone number, and he says, "I want you to call this number, and it's you're going to talk to an E4, and this is in the Pentagon, okay? And you're going to suggest to him that you'd like to trade, And so I did, and he says, "All I need is if you two guys are, going to do it, it's done." So spent a year and a half there, and it was great. Traveled all over the place. It was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
What a journey.
It was. It still is, the journey.
So, Germany back to Cape May now.
Yeah, Germany back to Cape May. Well, I mean, I had been going back and forth. When I got out of the service, I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have a degree. I had a lot of experience, world experience, which I think is the biggest semester in your life. You know what I mean? Being able to travel and see and meet people and all that. And I'm walking on the mall, and my partner, Charlie Pisagno, he was working for his father-in-law, Frank Coffey, who at the time was the mayor of Cape May. And his nickname is Chick. And I went over, hugged him, because I hadn't seen him in quite a long time. And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I have my soon-to-be wife, the man that owned the Mayflower shop on the mall, his son-in-law had a small oil company. In other words, you go out and fix the burners and pump the oil and all that kind of stuff. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be not a Catholic, but he wanted to be getting the ministry. He wanted to be a holy guy or whatever." Yeah. And so I said, "Yeah, I'll try this." Well, that lasted about a month. Because I go over to Whitesboro, and there was a call because they have the heaters on the floor. So I open up the crawl space and I shoot my lights, right? And I see like 8 dots. And I quickly shut the door, went back, and that was that. So then I saw Charlie again. He says, "Well, listen, my father-in-law will probably get you a job. He'll give you a job." And he did. And so that was 52 years ago on the mall.
Wow.
And Frank Coffey was the one who actually built that mall. Yeah.
What's the mall look like then?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I first came over here, the police stopped me because there was a street there. And I had a little Bug-Eye Sprite, right? And they probably never saw a car like that coming into Cape May. And I didn't really, I went down Pittsburgh Avenue and I figured my way out. And they pulled me over right in front of the Ugly Mug. And I said, "This is a good start."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, long story short, just have been doing the insurance until now. And when the opportunity came for the Seaview, I couldn't resist because look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a staple.
Yeah. And I've put my little touches to it, and it's been working out well.
Yeah, it has worked out well. It's for sure. This is where we met.
Mm-hmm.
This is where our family breaks bread. This is where the town breaks bread. This is where the locals get away. This is where the tourists come to feel like a local. This is where you're welcome. It's pretty funny. Booking.com, it just came out, voted Cape May the second most welcoming town in the country. St. Augustine, Flagler area. They had a picture of the Flagler Hotel there.
Real nice, yeah.
That was number 1. But number 2, Cape May most welcoming town in the country. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think this place plays a major role in it. A lot of people we've interviewed in this series play a major role in it.
Yeah.
From Johnny Cook to the hotel staffs.
Johnny Cook.
Right. To Curtis, obviously Bashall and the empire he's created from a housing perspective, interviewed a bunch of different people. But your role in this town is unique because you're the owner, you're the, if you will, Pat Croce always says it, the custodian. I keep the lights on, I keep it clean, I lock the doors. He says that about his bars in Key West, which I always enjoyed. Like, I'm just carrying on the legacy. And to carry on the legacy of this place, what does this place mean to you? And then what does this place mean to the town?
Well, I mean, I love this bar, and I truly do. And that's why I made the shirts. And I was just waiting for, was it Toby Keith?
Yep.
Yeah, right. I was waiting for the attorney letter to come in saying, "Hey, we got to talk to you." And I would say, hey, you come in here once and then we'll make the decision. Because I would, at that time, I would love to have had him come in here. And when he walked in, he'd probably say, keep the shirts, dude.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, mom and dad, they were in the hospitality business. My dad used to, he ran the brass rail at the Philadelphia International Airport. Went down to D.C. and high end. You know, he could make a salad right in front of you, with the eggs and all that kind of stuff.
The Caesar salad.
And then mom was a waitress, and always loved the business. And then there's a picture of my dad up there. See the second one down from the lady with the red, and then the one below? That's my dad on the right, and that's Mark Platzer. He's the gentleman that I bought the place from, and he was up here with my mom and my sister. And what that was all about was who can make the best drink. And so Platzer's making up a drink, right? So my dad just walks down, he gets an ice cold mug, puts it down, guess who the winner was? That's Mark saying, you got it, buddy. You got it. Yeah, it was cool. But anyway, so it was I think, because my coat of arms is 3 mugs. So there was just, as soon as he asked me, there was another person that was looking at it, and they were going to tear this place down. That was during the .com days.
Yep.
And they were going to put retail stores there, and they were going to give the license to the Peter Shields Inn. Not give it, but sell it to them for $1 million. And so I came in, I said, I'll take it. Seriously, I need it. I need it. I love it. My dad would be so happy, but he's not here to enjoy it. And so that was pretty much the reason. I mean, this is my baby.
What does it mean to the town?
Well, I mean, this is my living room, and I invite them in. You know what I mean? And for the most part, everybody, if you don't know the person next to you when you sit down, you will by the end of the time you leave the place.
Your favorite food item?
Favorite food? All of it.
Yeah.
No, it's really. I mean, we're noted for our wings.
Yeah.
And Star Herald gave us the #1, but there's 10. Mr. Genovese, he does it. He's very clever. Top 10, because everybody can't be #1. Yeah. So it's good.
That's great.
No, the food we have such a variety on the menu. It's we have liverwurst and onion. We have kielbasi. We have all the old school stuff.
Great crab cake. Love the wings.
Wings.
Yes.
Our scallops fly out of here.
Good bar pizza. Yeah, great scallops.
Yeah.
And they're local. That's what Cape May is known for. Talk about the fishery in Cape May. Talk about Lobster House. Talk about the fishing industry in this town and the history and what your kind of remembrance of it is and will be.
Well, I mean, it's Wally Lauderman. He owned it, and then his son Keith, when Wally passed, he's the main man now. I mean, it's an icon in Cape May. It's been around in Skelliger's Landing, for so many years that, I mean, it's an automatic. Everybody that comes to Cape May, they will end up in the Lobster House during their stay. Mm-hmm. And the food is always consistent. And, Keith himself, he's got it. He was a captain of one of his 5 different fishing boats. And, he's hands-on, great operator. And his dad, it's funny, his dad, he was the first man I ever saw give a $100 tip. And I'm saying, man, there's something good about this restaurant business that I like.
Yeah, I got to get in this.
Yeah.
Just touch on the town. We spoke before, and it's always hard to recreate conversation before, but just little history nuggets. You mentioned something about Sturdy Bank. You talked about the fire department. You talked about the post office. You talked about little nuggets around town. Give our viewers, people learning more about Cape May, whether they're from here or not, but like a little history lesson of some things around town that you love to talk about from a history standpoint that's either the same or may have changed.
Well, Sturdy Bank, that was Bob McManus's gas station, right? And they lived on Decatur Street, and they were Bob and his wife were just genuine people. They were so kind. No matter what you wanted to do with your car, if you wanted to fix your own tire or do something, he says, if he wasn't busy, go ahead and do that. Take care of that. The Mayflower is where Mark Platzer's son has that retail store. What's the name of it?
Galvanic.
Galvanic, yeah.
Yep.
And that was where my wife used to work. Okay. And then next to that was Kelty's. And Kelty's had the old wooden floor. And you walk in there, they've got newspapers, for New Yorkers, whatever you needed to read, they had it. And she was tough. You know, when you first met her, you would think she's going to rip your head off. But after you got to know her, she was just a genuine lady. And then Ross Candyland is where your parents are now located, with one of the many operations that you guys have in the family. And let me go down. And then Dellas's, ironically, your family's involved in that.
Yeah.
But Norm Dellas, he was the one who, at one time, when Cape May was a town, okay, on Saturday mornings during football season, we had these midget leagues, right? And you see these little guys, you know, and they got these big helmets and these little necks, and they're running around and it's banging around, right? And it was so cool. Harry Gilbert was the mayor then, and he, the colors he used were the Oakland colors, you know, the black and the silver, and they're like bad, you know.
Yeah.
And these little kids were running around. Well, I took the pictures for all of them.
Oh, cool.
And then there's that, you know, that little, there was a concrete building there. And so I got some friends, and we refurbished that so when they could come in, they could have sodas, they could have all dry goods, they had a refrigerator and all that. And, but anyway, there was a baseball field there, and it had their own dugouts. I mean, you walk down.
It was old school.
It was old school. And it had a 2-story section back there, just like Harry Cowles sitting up there.
And when you meet the town, I think, in my perspective on that was, Cape May's still a wonderful place, still got beautiful houses, wonderful people that make up the place, but it's a more mature crew. It's a little more expensive, a lot more expensive to live here.
Yeah.
More, and I've coached at Lower Cape May. More of the kids come from North Cape May, Village, Middle Township, Lower, Wildwood. It's a little bit different than Cape May City.
Yeah.
So that's a little perspective on that. I think I wanted to add a nugget too.
Yeah.
From a Dellas perspective, we're blessed, and this is what really the show's about, to carry on the legacy that family started.
Yeah, there was
Any memories in there?
It was a little league. We had the little league, all the people.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just packed.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
All through Dellas, huh?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And everybody bought signs in the back, you know, and then we had lights. We had the big lights. We had night games, you know what I mean? It was really neat.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's when it was a town. But then, you know, right now I think Cape May is more of a destination than a town, unfortunately. Or fortunately, there's a lot of nice people that come in, but there's no more families moving in. That one section in Cape May, as you know, Village Green, was always like an entry level kind of situation. You know, if you have dual income, you know, and they want to get their little place, you know, back then, you could buy one for $125,000.
Get into town.
Get into town.
Yeah, Scotty Holden always tells a story, patron, bartender here as well, and local, great family in this town.
Yeah.
Scotty tells stories all the time, pick up basketball games in town, and the community vibe. And his father, rest in peace, would tell stories that Scotty, and I never met Mr. Holden, but just about baseball in town in the old days.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. It was like a little Disneyland, you know what I mean? And there was something else I was going to suggest to you, but
just going through town, watching tree, even the mug, right? The mug is still a successful staple part of this town, but the mug's changed. That place back in the day used to be the ugly mug, and it still is. I don't want to take away from it, but the ugly mug, the mugs on the walls, it's wall-to-wall people. It was a different time period, also a different vibe.
Yeah.
But craziness.
When I got out of the service, we lived on top of the Marion Inn for like 3 years.
It's a block away.
So Warren Watson was the owner, and we would always be going down to the Ugly Mug.
Yeah.
And Jiminy Lane, they were the two singers that they would have in the summer, and they down by the river, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It was great.
How's Cape May changed?
Well, it's like I say, it's more of a destination spot. We've got the real estate is just out of control.
Yeah.
You know, we had that session. Well, I'll back up further. The .com days when we had that happen, that's when there was an influx of more money coming in, and the people that lived here year round, they took advantage of that, and the majority of those people that sold their places, they moved to Lower Township.
Yeah.
So there was like this migration, you know, like the wagons, you know, moving over.
They sold up.
Yep, and
got
everybody
into
that was in Cape May was now in Lower Cape May.
Yeah.
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 So,
talk about the Coast Guard. I think that's a huge part. I know it's a huge part of this town. I think it makes the town and the ecosystem of this town more year round. there's a lot of things that make Cape May year-round, but a lot of people don't speak. But the Coast Guard base, there's a couple thousand people here because of it.
Well, the elementary school wouldn't be here if there wasn't the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And the Coast Guard, once again, it was such a town. We would play basketball. They would allow us to play basketball in there and volleyball. And they had Olympic-sized swimming pool.
Yeah.
And the only reason that happened was because I think I mentioned Frank Aubrey. When he was the mayor, he was very political. He wrote the insurance for the state of New Jersey. And so he was the one who single-handedly suggested, why don't we put an Olympic-sized pool in this little school? That's a great idea, Frank. And sure enough, that's why it was there. Stage with the old blue, curtains that would shut, and open. Well, that's like where Liberty is, on the beachfront right across the, well, that used to be a theater. And it had an old school theater, and they also had the curtains and all that. My wife worked there too. But yeah, a lot of stuff. And then Gloria's on the corner.
Yep.
Yeah, which is now Caballito's.
Yeah.
And that's got a rich history and ownership.
Yeah, Ross was talking about it. We interviewed him yesterday, and these will come out later. But Ross was talking about like what an honor and a privilege it was to take over that building.
Yeah.
He said he won't go up to that 3rd and 4th floor at night, though. He said,
Yeah, it's
there's,
spooky.
there's some
Yeah.
there's some paranormal activity. He's like, I look at the cameras up there. Going back to, let's just say the Coast Guard, it's pretty cool for us. And we spent some time in Key West, Florida, Annapolis, Maryland, where we live in Cape May too, right? So we kind of move around from my perspective, with just my immediate family, but it's all Coast Guard type towns.
Well,
and they all talk about coming through Cape May, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I support the Coast Guard 110%, and they
This
know
bar does.
Oh yes,
They all said, I Seaview Wing Night, all of them.
Yep.
All of them. I mean, we're in Key West, and my buddy's retiring, and we're at a bar celebrating a retirement. And he goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Philly area, but reside in Cape May and spend some, family businesses here." And they all say, Seaview Wing Night. We used to go all the time, and people in this bar take care of their tabs. I mean, do you have any fond memories of any Coast Guard members being in here, or anybody of that ilk?
Oh, many. I mean, they come in. Well, also during COVID, what I did just to help support the young married Coast Guard personnel, I let them eat for free during COVID, only because, what am I going to try to make money on these guys and gals? And no, that's not me. No.
Yeah.
And if I was ever a mayor of this town, I would contact the mayor of Key West and make us sister cities.
Oh yeah.
And I think that it's so appropriate because you got Navy, but you got the Coast Guard there, and you got a cruise. So why wouldn't it pay to be a sister city?
And all the goofballs like us
I want
spend
you
time
to make
down
that your initiative.
All right, I will. I'll carry it. Once I'm the mayor of wherever,
Yeah,
I'll say, listen.
Be the mayor of the Seaview.
Yeah.
You'd be a lot happier.
Yeah,
Not the city of Cape May.
Yeah, we'll be meeting with Zach later.
Yeah.
He's done some wonderful things, and it's never it's a thankless job. No good deed goes unpunished, as they say.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Zach, and this is a family story, but when I did have hair, I was Dracula. My mom was a seamstress.
For Halloween?
Yes, for Halloween. It was red in the middle and black, and it was beautiful. It was really made. And so I was Dracula. And my daughter, Shannon, she would open up the door, and I would go like this, "Good evening," And so Zach and his brother came up my steps, because Bob, their dad worked for us. And so they come up the steps, right? And they looked at me when I did that. Well, they zipped to the right. They were scared to death. And so you didn't hear anything. And then you hear the pitter patter of feet, because my second neighbor had stones. And so Bob comes up. He says, "Where are my kids?" I said, "They went that way." So then you hear nothing. Then you hear the burr, 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 burr on the rocks. And so when they come in, we always chat about that. It was fun.
Great.
It was fun.
Yeah, that is the cool thing too about this bar, right? To keep it back to community in this bar is everybody comes in here, from locals to business people to someone who's never been here before. But we've had some cool people come in here, some quote unquote celebrities. One of them's Joe Watson. I'm a big Flyers fan. You have a great relationship with him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a great patron.
Holy cow, man! How you doing? Yeah.
He's got the big hands. He's got the Flyers Stanley Cup ring on.
He crushes your hands too. I've got pictures that I'm putting on the other side of that one bulkhead up there that he gave me. His pictures. Yeah, Joe's a good guy, and his wife's delightful. They used to come down here and stay before the season in a house that I have, and it was just good stuff.
Yeah.
Joey.
Any other quote unquote bigger time figures from that perspective? We have plenty of my football coaches come hang out here, Coach Rule and Coach Foley, and
Well, the Hathaways, they have a house here.
Yeah,
That's where
and-
they live. Yeah. Very nice.
yeah,
Jerry
we
and
got
his
to meet. I worked out with I did the Donna's beach workout there in the summer on the beach right in front of Congress Hall, and Tina Fey works out there.
Nice.
It's all walks of life here, kid.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. What's
There's a rumor too that Spielberg might be doing a movie down here.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
Cape May.
And we had the Bob Dylan movie
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
cool.
It was.
You see the trailer online, and you could see Congress Hall in the background of the trailer. I haven't
yeah.
seen the movie yet. I will.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I'm remiss, but no, it was interesting. Everybody was just involved. I mean, graciously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to be as nice as you can, and yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
And there he is. Did you see him on the Academy Award?
Yeah.
He's got this bright suit on, and he's like a little boy. You know, just being there. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And the
So-
cars they had.
What's a good story from this town that you've enjoyed over the years and that talks about, this community? I know it's a vague question, but, everyone has different stories talking about different things, from a special patron that came in that, maybe someone at the bar you did a good deed for, or a special patron that came in and changed your life, or a story about this town that's kind of a feel-good story that talks about community and coming together and all those wonderful things. I know it's open-ended, but
Well,
it's a special town with special people.
we have a bike tour, and the bike tour is for brain cancer and autism. Okay, the brain cancer episode was one of our waitresses passed away at age, I think she was 23.
Yeah.
And so we made it a point to donate, for the benefit of brain cancer. And then my grandnephew, he's autistic, and he didn't speak until he was, say, 4 years old. And he was coming down. It's my goddaughter's son, and she works up in North Jersey. And so they're coming down in the van on a Thanksgiving when he was 4. And then so when Catherine opened up the door, he says, "Hi, Mommy." And those were the first 2 words that he ever spoke in his life. And so I said, "Wow, this is unbelievable." And so Catherine told me that there's the Somerset School up there for autism, and they have like 6 people per autistic people. Okay. And because of that, that's what really aided him in speaking. And so we donate the funds. We split it up 50-50, and we give it to brain cancer and autism in the Somerset School. So, and that's rewarding, it really is.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
it? I think you guys, is that Christmas Day you guys do that, or does it?
No, we do it the first weekend in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
It's a
there's-
Sunday.
I remember there was a holiday we were in here to participate in the fundraiser, and it's cool. I mean, talk about this place from a sports perspective too. Like, talk about community. I mean, the Eagles games. There was Raven
Oh, my
Haven for
God.
one point of time.
Yeah, Raven Haven. My God, this place was packed. Well, I mean, all the Raven Haven, they got older, and now they're all in Key
They
West.
flew south.
They're in our sister city.
They flew south.
Yeah, they flew south. That's right. No, but we
Phillies,
got
everything.
8 TVs, and whatever you want to watch, we watch. I mean, some guys like golf. I love golf and NASCAR, and the Phillies are coming on. And
Yeah.
we're a sports bar.
And you got a big event coming up here, the St. Patty's. Where did that start from? Okay, let's get some bagpipers in, to where is it grown to today?
Well, during COVID, they took a hit because it's retired.
Is that when it started, or when did it start? Well, like the bagpipers and the real chaos here on St. Patty's Day.
When did it start?
Like, when did you start doing it? Was that something that was happening before you took over the bar?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But when I took it over, I knew the main man, John, and so that was in 07. But when COVID came, the guys, they're retired police, firemen, and they couldn't do any gigs, so a lot of them stopped practicing because you really need wind for those bagpipes. You're just blowing air into that thing, but you got to constantly blow it and then do that. So it was a big corporation. They had a big bus. They would do competitions, and they were right up there with the best of them. And but they collapsed. And so just recently, John calls me. Hey John, what are you up to, man? I miss you. He says, not anymore. I said, we're back. I said, really? He says, yep. He says, we're only going to do 4 spots, and you're number 1. And he says to me, he says, how long do you want us to stay? Okay, and and how long do you want me to stay? And what was the other thing that he said? He said, and you're first. So they're coming in 4 o'clock this Monday, and I can't wait because it's been a draw, if you know what I mean.
It is a draw. It will be an event, to say the least.
It is. It's crazy. They came in here. John, he has some kind of a holder for his Guinness, because when they walk in, there's a whole line of Guinness. There was. I don't know how many guys are still coming in, but he puts his Guinness on top of his drum, and he drums away, right? Never misses a drop.
Hey,
It's incredible.
that's coordination.
Yeah, well, I think he must have made a special,
Holder.
something.
He's got a little something
he's
for
got
it.
something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in closing too, and we'll do some quick hitting fun questions at the end, but in closing, can you, from an outsider perspective, can you explain the different sections of town? Like just a little brief note. I think it's really cool from a local's perspective to hear them. Like you got Cape May Point, you got North Cape May, you got this area, you have the beach in front. Like, can you just
Yeah,
kind
you
of,
got the villas, Town Bank. Town
yeah.
Bank was
and
in
you kind
Whaling.
of start from up there and kind of come through town. I think it'd be really cool to hear your just kind of bullet points on the different neighborhoods and how
Well,
they change.
Yeah, well, I think Village Green is one of the most successful things about Cape May, because during its town days, it was really, really good. And, and it still is. It's still an entry level because the homes are so freaking expensive, but the people are coming in. And then we've got Lower Township, and Lower Township is geographically, it's huge. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the folks that live there were Cape May people. And so there's quite a few of them that come here. In the villas, that's another really strong community. They're little cottages, and they're meant. There's no mansions there. But then when you go to Cape May Beach, which is not Cape May Beach, you got the big homes, but they gave it the Cape May name, and it's Cape May Beach, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then what's the other one? Well, Cape May Point too is just charming.
It's like another world.
It is. With
People
the
don't
lake,
even know that exists.
it's the truth.
There's farms out there.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, no.
wineries, and then there's the point with the lighthouse and a sunken ship.
Yeah.
It's unique.
And the sunken ship is almost like gone.
Gone, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to resink something out there for tourism purposes.
Yeah, I thought the USS, the boat we should have grabbed that puppy. You know what I mean? Can you imagine that? You wouldn't have seen the sunset.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is cool. And I remember too, one thing that was very poignant, many, many years ago, the ocean froze and the bay froze, and it really froze. And so I took my daughter Shannon, and we walked out about 20 feet on the ice. And don't think I'm crazy. I mean, I went out first because when the ocean froze, the bay was about 6 inches.
Yeah.
And we went out there and we got real close. And then Shannon turns around and looks at me, and then she sort of runs back to me, and we didn't get there. But anyway, it was good. It was good.
No, that's good.
It was a memory. Yeah.
No
Good stuff.
No doubt about it. All right, some quick hitters, fun ones as we wrap things up. Favorite place to get breakfast, a cup of coffee in town.
Lobster House Grill.
And that's the secret, everybody. Don't tell me.
Yeah,
Every single person
Yeah.
has said it on here, all the locals.
I'm gonna erase that now.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
Favorite
erased.
place to get a little ice cream if you're getting some.
You got to go to Bobby's place over here, right
Dry
across
Dock.
the wall. I mean, he's the local, ice cream man.
Dry Dock, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then fudge.
Where are you getting fudge? There's
Only
place.
one place.
The original Fudge
Fudge
Kitchen.
Yeah.
That's what a great, that's another staple of this town. My family's been fortunate to continue on a legacy on 50 plus years. Staple, been there forever. Let's see, quick hitters. Your favorite beach, your favorite area. If you're going to go sit on a beach, where are you going?
Well, I think we were spoiled when we lived on Decatur Street, right there, because you had Carney's there, and you had the outside bar there,
Yeah.
and it was good. The kids loved it, so easy. And then we have the beach boxes in Cape May too, and they're blue. and it's very, very unique. Nobody else has that, and it makes it so comfortable. Once you put all your stuff in there, you don't have to worry about lugging it around and all that. And that's Steger's, and Mr. Steger. Where the Acroteria is there, those little houses?
Yeah.
Well, the Steger family used to own that property. And it was like sort of a five and dime kind of a place on the beachfront. And prior to that, they used to have the word shooby. That emanated from the fact that they had these little areas where you could change, and they would put their stuff in shoe boxes. So that's why they called them shoobies.
Wow.
And then the Steger family bought it, and then he built his thing, and it was just an old fashioned, nothing. It's all sort of, mishmash. If you didn't have something and ask for it, they'll probably go and get it. That kind of stuff. And that Steger family, he was the coach too of the Lower Cape May regional football team too.
Wow.
He was the coach.
Old school.
Old school, the coach.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, that was one. Yeah,
That's excellent. Favorite place for a beer in town?
Another place for a beer?
Favorite place for a beer in town?
Well, come on, that was easy. You can answer that for me.
The Seaview. Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, it's been a resounding question.
Here he is. He comes in, right? He's a big shot in high school.
Oh.
And so now, short story, becomes a professional football player. And he was kind enough to become part of the Lower Cape May regional football coaching staff.
Yeah.
And you would do your...
Still am.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, volunteering.
So that's it, folks. This is the one. This is the one.
Yes, I came in here.
And Joe Watson, when he used to come too, he would sit right there and he would sign pictures for as long as you wanted him to. So
Yeah.
And he's got a book out too, which
Joe's
everybody
great.
should buy. Yeah.
My mother, has been here since the 90s in business, family business. And, we would just stay above the store.
Yeah.
Because we were a young family and we lived up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And
Yeah.
she would come down and work like crazy. She would work all day long. We would drive down and we would just hang out and help her on the stores and be around and whatever she needed. It probably got in the way half the time. And she was just giving us food to go eat at was it the Lemon Tree? The Lemon Tree on the
Lemon
mall.
Tree. Yeah.
I love that.
That was a good spot.
Yeah.
Now,
And-
did you guys live there when it was Central Pharmacy?
No. Oh, no. It may be. I don't know. What,
Yes.
the Lace store or Lemon Tree?
No,
was
the
Central?
corner, on the corner, right across from the mug. That used to be Central Pharmacy.
No. So when that changed over, I think once my mom moved in the 90s. So when she got here in the 90s, we would stay overnight above in the apartments. And
I know how small it was.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
you would stay at the mug would be so loud. That was back in the day, like
Yeah, loud.
loud.
Yeah.
And, but whatever. I mean, it was great. We would stay over, had a great time. And Cape May was like where my mom came for work. And we would get a quick bite and she would be like, all right, got to go back to school. And boom, we would go on. We would run down to the beach. She would get us on the beach for like 15, 20 minutes before sunset just to say we did it. Get changed like a shoebie.
That's it.
And then drive 2.5 hours back to Bucks County. And that was what Cape May was for us. And it was a place we loved, but it was, a place my mom came and worked her ass off, and created some stores and whatever. And then all of a sudden, I would say we were like in middle school. And, you get a little older, mom and dad have a little more time. We started coming down more. And then Greg Cola
Yeah.
was another
man.
local, good
Yeah.
man. Was helping my parents kind of figure out and navigate from a real estate perspective the town. And so we got to go to the Seaview Dave, and kind of the rest is history of my dad's Dave. And we came in and sat in here, and we've met amazing people. We've friends, family, weddings,
Yeah.
travel, business.
Yeah.
and
It's a wonderful place.
it's a wonderful place.
It
So
really is.
we appreciate your time. My last question for everyone always is, what's the next 10 years look like for you in this town? What's the next 10 years look like for Cape May?
I mean, that's hard to say. I think where it's at now is going to stay this way, and I think that it's sort of sad, but it's more of a destination place than it is our little town. And I try to keep the little town atmosphere going, and it's working.
You do a great job with it.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for your time, my friend.
You got it, pal.
Appreciate it.
Yes, indeedy. See you later.
Perfect.